I'm struggling a bit to tie the two picks I have for today's entry in the Best in Horror Countdown 2023 through 2024. Okay, how about this? The titles of both films start with the letters L and O. Sometimes the link between the two films are as flimsy as that. Filmmaker Osgood Perkins may not be for everyone. He doesn't make mainstream movies, and Neon made the mistake of attempting to pass this indie film off as a mainstream film, which is why I think Longlegs raised the ire of many a mainstream moviegoer. But man, is Perkins good at creating a dire and dreadful mood. At number 3 is Longlegs, released on July 12th, 2024, and it's available on demand from Neon. It's written and directed by Osgood Perkins. A socially awkward and psychically intuitive FBI agent named Lee Harker, played by Mika Monroe, tries to track down a serial killer named Longlegs, played by Nick Cage, who seems to kill his victims without even entering their homes. The killer somehow has ties to Lee's foggy past. I'm a fan of filmmaker, actor, son of Anthony Perkins, Oz Perkins, though I do know he's not for everyone. His films are often smattered with what some call art house qualities and others call pretentious fluff. So I'm going to understand if you're in the camp of not getting or downright loathing Longlegs. It doesn't follow convention, and if your idea of horror is of the more traditional, forward-shooting Blumhouse style, this film will frustrate the hell out of you. That said, since I do like this sort of thing, where all of the answers are not spelled out and there's a vague oddity about everything, I dug Longlegs quite a bit. While it attempts to tell a straightforward detective serial killer tale, it does keep you guessing pretty much from the get-go and leaves you scratching your head and wishing you didn't do so many whippets that one time in high school and had a few more brain cells left to figure this one out. Perkins is a master at mood in all of his films and prevalent in Longlegs. He makes a simply made but meticulously plotted stoic scene nightmarish. One may say the themes and the way he communicates them suggest that Perkins' films all occur in the same cinematic universe. Satanism is addressed, and while it is more in the forefront here, it feels like the same kind of themes that were hinted at in The Black Coat's Daughter, where the devil is always lurking over our shoulder and in every shadow. Perkins communicates this through images and shadowy figures looming in the background. There is an evil influence lingering in every scene, simply through the way Perkins somehow brings out the darkest evil in the most banal of scene compositions, or through long pauses focusing on doorways that always seem to pop up throughout the film and fail to keep the evil at bay. The repeated image of the door feels intended, as much of the most harrowing stuff occurs framed within one. Filming the various flashbacks and breaks from the main narrative is wonderfully done as well, with a square-bound image and grainy retro film stock. These scenes feel like an old Polaroid that one finds in an attic full of foreboding and untold secrets. Adding to the terrifying mood is the unsettling score by Zilgi, who uses unconventional instruments and sounds not unlike the tension-laden score from The Shining. Touches like this creep under your skin. It wouldn't surprise me that this is a film that affects people in ways they can't really articulate. From minute one, you're in Perkins's odd world, and you don't know what to expect just off camera or around any corner. Mika Monroe has become quite the scream queen. Here she shows a shaky vulnerability, like a baby deer lost in a dark forest. You can't help but feel for her despite the bad decisions she's made to be in this awful place. Her moments on the phone with her mother at the beginning are a wonderful window into this layered character. I love the rigid scene where Lee meets her partner's daughter Ruby, played by Ava Keeters, who she cannot relate with, but these scenes also show just how likable she is despite her social setbacks. Blair Underwood plays a significant role here without standing out too much. He's supposed to be the sole person in the film that is relatable and not a complete head case. Alicia Witt is unrecognizable as Lee's mother, but manages to be creepy as hell, giving you a clue as to why Lee is such a mental mess. Nick Cage delivers another iconic performance. As Longlegs, Cage channels his inner Tiny Tim with a creepily high and sing-songy voice. Cage plays the character convincingly. He's under a lot of prosthetics and makeup to play this sadistic albino creep. At times he feels like an over-the-top Batman villain, but never crosses the line into camp. Still, there are a few scenes where he tap dances close to that edge. The restraint Perkins has with his reveal is wonderfully tense. We only see bits of his face, and then from far away for most of the film, making Longlegs all the more mysterious as an antagonist. Plus his costuming, layering different shades of white clothing, make him look truly surreal in a very subtle way. There's a sequence I feel would have been better shown earlier rather than later in the movie that would have helped explain why Lee, this meek, shivering, and awkward character, would have been chosen to be in the FBI in the first place. The scene comes early on, but not early enough, as Lee is given a test to examine her psychic abilities. I didn't want to have Lee's partner Carter, played by Blair Underwood, simply explain it in clunky exposition, but I feel if that test would have been interspersed with the opening credits, it would have given the crucial info as well as to why the hell Lee is in the FBI in the first place in a more natural way. Instead, that fact and a few others, like the facts that Longlegs is a Satan worshiper and parts of Lee's past, are rather clunkily revealed through dialogue. This leads to an especially convenient climax that is quite predictable to everyone but the main characters. It's moments like this that qualify Longlegs as just shy of perfect. Longlegs is a patient thriller that will horrify you in ways you might have difficulty identifying. This is a subliminal and subtle horror. While there are some straight-up terrifying scenes of gore, shock, and carnage, the scariest stuff is in the periphery and better noticed after multiple viewings, I imagine. I definitely will be seeing it again. If you're a fan of Perkins's previous movies, this feels like his most mature and accomplished one he's done yet, while still playing in his familiar sandbox. But be forewarned, this is not a mainstream horror movie. Here's one I saw late in the game and definitely falls into the category of not quite horror. Still, it's worth mentioning. Love Lies Bleeding was released on March 8th, 2024, and it's streaming on Max. It's directed by Rose Glass and written by Rose Glass and Weronika Tofilska. A gym manager named Lou, played by Kristen Stewart, is blown away when a new bodybuilder named Jackie, played by Katie O'Brien, makes her way into town. The two quickly become embroiled in a strong relationship, but it seems destined for tragedy. Daisy is training to perform in an upcoming bodybuilding competition, and in order to look her best, begins using steroids, making her emotionally unstable. Meanwhile, Lou is having family issues as her father, Lou Sr., played by Ed Harris, is the local crime boss with his hand in every operation going on in the small New Mexico town, and her sister Beth, played by Jenna Malone, is in an abusive relationship with her no-good husband, JJ, played by Dave Franco. All of this drama comes together in an explosive and violent way by the time the credits roll. Those who balk at the mere word of the word lesbian is going to have a lot to run away from in Love Lies Bleeding, but if they do, they're going to miss out on an incredibly complex and bombastic movie about the horrifying things we do for those we love. While yes, there is a lot of girl-on-girl action, the film escalates to a fever pitch once you realize that the old adage about love is true. The brightest fire burns out the fastest. Both Lou and Jackie are deeply flawed individuals, drawn to one another mainly because they really have never met anyone like each other before. I don't want to overgeneralize, but I have it on good authority from my lesbian friends that there's an old joke in the lesbian community. What does a lesbian bring on her second date? Her suitcase and all of her things, meaning that there's a tendency in the lesbian community to rush into relationships, most likely because one finds someone with the same kind of likes and dislikes in a small community where LGBTQ are parts of the alphabet that aren't often used. That's when they tend to move in with each other quickly while the fire is hot. I don't know if that's a good thing or not judging or anything, but it certainly is a bad thing between these two tragic souls starring in Love Lies Bleeding. The film has a fiery, beating heart just waiting to explode at any minute, and director Rose Glass and her co-writer, Weronika Tofilska, build tension atop tension in this seedy story that feels ripped from the same cloth as such epic crime love stories as True Romance, The Getaway, and Blood Simple. While the lesbianism is strong in this one, This is a story mainly about rushed love and brutal violence resulting from it. Love Lies Bleeding has an amazing cast of actors who alone could carry a movie by themselves. Though she still has a bit of that Twilight baggage, I really like the film decisions Kristen Stewart has chosen, though admittedly I've only seen her in Underwater and Love Lies Bleeding, but in both films she's a force of nature in a minuscule package. She is the guiding force in this story, and everyone in this film revolves around her, though Stewart's Lou doesn't want any of that type of attention. But you really feel the impact Jackie has on Lou's life, and the hope she feels as this relationship begins, as well as the sorrow when she seems to be the only one who understands how hopeless that relationship is. Of course, the role that makes the biggest impact, literally and figuratively, is Jackie, played by Katie O'Brien. Disney should be kicking themselves for not simply using the actress as the She-Hulk instead of the CG monstrosity they ended up with. On top of delivering a heartbreaking performance, O'Brien commands every scene she's in as the monstrously muscular bodybuilder with the heart of gold, but a mind that is, shall we say, impulsive. Seeing the mistakes she makes along the way as this story rolls on made my throat clench up and my heart ache. Rounding out the cast is Ed Harris, who is basically playing the embodiment of the devil. His receding mullet is a wonderfully demented touch, but he is lethal and terrifying in every scene he's in, even when he's trying to be the voice of reason and decency amongst the chaos Lou and Jackie have created. Jenna Malone is strong as Lou's sister, delivering a complex role of the abused wife who still loves her family, even her abusive husband, deeply. And Dave Franco, who for some reason I have a strong disliking of, is great as said abusive husband, JJ. Once the intense passion between Lou and Jackie begins to dim, the violence begins, and whoa Nelly, does this one get rough. There are some truly brutal moments that had me wincing and screaming. There are some scenes of delusion and gore and nightmare that are scarring. After we get to know our cast, Glass and Tofilska's story mauls each and every character relentlessly, and it's hard to shake. Now the ending of Love Lies Bleeding slides right off into batshitsville with a fantastical sequence oozing with metaphor. This is where the film is going to lose a lot of people, as everything that has grounded the film before the film's climax fades away, and Lou and Jackie transcend to become much more than simple humans. I could have done without it, but I get what the filmmakers are getting at, as these two characters are the stars of the story, so it makes sense that they hype them up to mammoth proportions. At the same time, as Lou and Jackie become towering titans, it feels appropriate as size and strength are ever present on both Lou and Jackie's minds. Lou is a small person in a small town, trampled down by the weight of her criminal father, while Jackie is an insecure person burying herself under mounds of muscle. While it's not as literal, this ending is not unlike Thelma and Louise or Butch and Sundance, driving or diving off that cliff into mythic infamy. So while this shift from the literal to the metaphorical is a joke, I think it fits in this epic love story we've watched unfold. Containing powerful performances, an epic story of love and loss, and a brutal and violent nature, Love Lies Bleeding is definitely unlike most films you're going to watch this and any year. Keep an open mind and give it a shot. Once again and always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be.
left inside that we